Hello YouTube, this is Darkon633 and we're going to take a look at another Transformers review. This time we're going to take a look at Stormshot in the Transformers Robots in Disguise Warrior Class toyline. Now what's cool about Stormshot is that it's actually the second flying character in the Autobot team, at least in the toyline, since as of this moment, Season 3, or whatever it's going to be really called, for Robots in Disguise has yet to air. So it's unknown exactly who's going to appear in the show and who's not. But it's still nice to see another flying character, at least in the toy line, and hopefully will also transition onto the show as well. And we're just going to take a look at the box. The box shows a pretty interesting artwork for Stormshot in an animated design there. Shows about his vehicle mode. Shows that it's a part of the Combiner Force toy line, which is the sub-brand for Robots in Disguise in this new line of toys. And it transforms 11 steps and shows the app. What's weird is that the bottom shows a bunch of the toys also in the line, but all of these are repacks of existing figures, so that's still interesting what's going on with the toy line so far. Anyway, so now take a look at the figure itself. Now, outside of the Autobot logo on his chest, unlike what is seen in the animation model, for what I could tell, there is no other Autobot logo at all. On the sides of the wings, oh, I take that back. The wings do have Autobot logos there. It's been a while since I've seen the toy, since I only got it recently, so it's cool that we have it there. It's just placed a little differently on the animation model. Articulation-wise, the head can swivel 360, but it's an extremely tight joint and it's kind of hard to get into. So you do have movement there. It has ball joints at the shoulders, but unfortunately the wings do kind of get in the way of actual movement. It does have a swivel, which are really tight, so you're not going to get a whole lot of movement as long as you don't use force. And it's got an elbow joint. The hands can pivot kind of due to transformation. It has no waist articulation, but unfortunately it does have some really loose hip joints. It seems to be a running problem with the R&D toys, where it has a lot of the loose hip joints, and I find that very annoying. It does have swivels at the thighs, knee joints, and feet can pivot a bit due to transformation, but that's about it. Articulation's pretty basic, but it still looks really nice. I think the best part of the figure is just the amount of paint that they actually put on the figure in general, since a lot of the R&D toys are lacking in the paint department, but it's nice to see a pretty decent coat of paint throughout the figure and design. Another thing is that it seems a lot less hollow than a lot of the R&D toys. While I think the animation model looks okay in toy form, a lot of the toys feel very hollow, and they got a lot of empty open areas within their bodies. However, for Stormshot, most of them are filled. There's a few areas like here where the back ends aren't fully molded and so on. But other than that, it's still a pretty good figure overall, I think. I think Hazard did a pretty decent job in the design of the actual body. The figure also includes these two blasters. This one blaster, which is consisted of two barrels, and a single blaster like this. What's cool is that you can actually take this and combine them if you wished. You can also combine them in the second peg if you wished. So technically, for what I could tell, if you had another one of these, you could probably use two at the same time and plug them. But obviously, since the toy only comes with two, you can really only do it that way. But we're going to take these off to the side, and now take a little comparison with some of the other characters. We're going to take a quick look at Stormshot next to Windblade. And I think it works pretty decently. Windblade is actually shorter than Stormshot, so that's pretty cool. And here he is next to Starscream, which apparently is also in this wave, but as of right now, I think the figure is about the same with the figure in this wave. This version is the one that I already reviewed, and that's the Toys R Us exclusive version, but it seems to be the exact same toy, just released earlier than major retailers, so that's kind of weird. Anyway, so now go on to transformation. You actually don't need to do this, but it'll be nice to actually turn the head. Unfortunately, the head is exposed in vehicle mode, but as long as you actually turn the head so it's facing that direction, at least the face will not be exposed in vehicle mode. What you're going to do first is take this and pull it. It's a little tricky at first, but once you get it situated, you'll be able to free it and fully collapse the wings like this. What we're going to do next is push away the hand into the arms. Take the legs and peg them together. And this part actually reminds me quite a bit, ironically, of Combiner Wars. And the reason why it's ironic is since the line is branded Combiner Force. Obviously, this character is not a Combiner, but I find it kind of funny that within the same line, it's got a very similar style to some of the Aerialbots from Combiner Wars in the Generations line. And that's mainly relevant to the leg transformation, since you do need to use a very similar kind of gimmick to fold away the legs into his vehicle mode. So it's kind of cool that it actually reflected there. So we got the jet mode almost fully combined. Sorry, transformed. We're going to push away the feet. And to finish out the transformation, we're just going to peg the hands onto the sides and collapse this entire piece, which can be a little bit tricky due to the way that the head does kind of get in the way, but you do need to kind of play around with it in order for it to fully collapse. It does get a little bit tricky though. So there we go. Now we got him Stormshot fully in his jet mode. The figure doesn't include real wheels, but it does have a collapsible wheel in the front, but none of these are actual wheels, they're just molded plastic, so even if you wanted to, it can't really slide across the table, so at least it does have the landing gear in general, though. You can actually place the guns on his vehicle mode in two areas. On the box end, it's a little bit better to put it here. You plug the guns onto the sides here using the secondary pegs that are molded onto the guns. So now you got them fully armed up. However, if you wanted to, you could kind of combine the two weapons if you wish to. So it looks like this. And you could theoretically just plug it up on top. So let's try to get this together. There we go. Let's just plug it in like this. And now you got it fully mounted on top. But it does work a little bit better underneath the wings. So overall, that pretty much covers the jet mode. I think it looks pretty nice in this mode. And it gives me a pretty big reminiscence to how some of the Seekers were in the original designs. So in conclusion, I think this figure is actually a pretty good figure release, and I think Hasbro did a pretty decent job on this particular new character that we've seen in the R&D line. The plastic quality doesn't seem that bad compared to some of the other characters, and while I do praise a lot of the R&D toys, I can understand that the plastic, at least how they feel on the toys, seem a little bit on the brittle side. But that obviously doesn't include all characters in the toy line, but there are a few characters that have slightly thinner body designs that cause it to be a little bit on a possibly very brittle side in general in the overall design, but I think Hasbro did a pretty good job with this particular character. I actually got this at Target, and I did spend a little bit more than I would like to, since it is available slightly cheaper online. The figure costed me about $18, since they seem to have raised the prices in my area at Targets for the R&D Warrior class figures, but I think it's okay since there isn't a whole lot of characters in line out so far, and the only other character out is the Decepticon Blastwave, but it's not quite, at least in my area, I haven't really seen him yet, but I think this is still a pretty decent release, and if you're a fan of the Autobots, or just Aerialbot kind of style Transformers, I highly recommend picking this up. Anyways, please comment, subscribe, and check out Hero Club and Hirotaku. Also check out Twitter under Darkon633, and don't forget to check down the other channels down below. Please check the little bell at the bottom of the screen in order to see my content go up as soon as possible. I'll be back with more Transformers reviews and more, but for now, later YouTube, bye.